Hey guys, welcome back to What Next? And this week we're going to continue with another John Hughes classic. This week we're going with the 1986, let me just double check that real quick here. Yep, 1986 classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, if you haven't seen this one, please do yourself a favor and go ahead and watch this and then come on back. Because for a lot of us, or not myself included, but a lot of us new moviegoers that are into collecting physical media and whatnot, this is a classic. So if you've ever been a teenager and ditched for a day and really wanted to go and do something fun, this is the movie for you. So for those of us who have seen it and always kind of thought what would have happened next with these guys, let's jump into it. Now doing some research on this, I know I think John Hughes talked about a lot of sequels for his movies. None of them ever actually happened. I think he always had sequels planned for kind of what would have happened later on in life. Like this one, I believe he wanted to do a sequel for Ferris kind of in college, which would have been cool, but I think in college when you ditch school, that's not really too big a deal. I mean, it'd be more kind of like a Van Wilder thing, like he was at college, but was still skipping school, but made it fun. But he was, because he was living on campus, so that was different. So who knows? Maybe it could have been a Van Wilder-esque type movie. But, so let's jump into it. Obviously, the main one here is Ferris, played by Matthew Broderick. So, we see Ferris. He got through the day, didn't get caught. Well, technically, he did get caught by the principal. But, he gets away with it because, essentially, the sister finds out that he was in his home. And so, he doesn't really want to say anything because then he'll get found out that he was essentially stalking Ferris and ended up in his home, which is a big no-no. But post this, I'm curious what happens to Ferris. So the way they talk about this, so they're definitely seniors in high school. They're probably right around close to the end of the school year, it seems like. So I'm not too worried about Ferris post high school. Like, we'll leave that alone. I'm just kind of curious what happens to him the next day at school. Like, I don't know. I don't know if they said that. I kind of did a little bit of research. Let's see. 2 months before graduation. So, okay. So you see him in April, May. I don't think they say the exact date that this happens. Let me see really quick here. No, it just says 2 months before graduation, high school senior. Okay. So I don't know if this is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So let's just say it's a Monday. He wanted a 3-day weekend. Or even if it's a Friday, say he wanted a 3-day weekend. So what happens the next day he goes to school? Tuesday or Monday, or when? Who knows what day he actually took the day off? So I'm curious what happens when he goes back to school the next day, because all of this stuff has happened between him and Mr. Rooney, the principal or the dean of students. So I'm just curious what happens when they see each other in the halls. You got Ferris, his sister Jeannie, and, the dean of students, or Mr. Rooney, like, they all had their interactions on this day. So the next day they're in school, I think there's going to be some odd feelings. Like, I think Ferris is going to look at him like, give him that smirk like, yeah, I pulled one off on you and you can't do nothing about it. Same thing with Jeannie. I think Jeannie's going to give him that whole, like, hey, a-hole, I caught you in my house and now I got you over a barrel and I can do whatever I want and you can't see nothing about it. So, but also, too, Mr. Rooney seems like he was definitely ended the day madder at Ferris than it was when he started, because now he sees all of these kids are brainwashed to seek the fact that Ferris is just this insane, poor human being who should be worshipped by this high school. So I think those last 2 months are going to be interesting to say the least for Ferris. I would be just curious. I would be hilarious to see Ferris walk across the graduation stand and them shake hands, kind of like it's been nice knowing you, good, kind of give that gentleman's, handshake, like, you tried to catch me, like, we had our good days and bad days, but we made it through. But, yeah, no, I think the last 2 months would just be very interesting to watch Ferris and Cameron finish out those last 2 months, especially with Mr. Rooney around. I don't Mr. Rooney doesn't really know that Cameron was. I think he suspects Cameron was involved and we got Sloane in there. So it's just going to be a weird dynamic that these 4 kids got one over on this principal, and they all know it when they see each other. So I'm just, I would just want to be there for the next day when Ferris has to walk into school, and everyone's clapping and applauding that he's alive, and Mr. Rooney has to see him as like, oh gosh, like they really love this kid, and they have no idea he was just ditching, and I had him, but he slipped through my fingers. So yeah, that's just kind of what I was going on this one. Obviously, you could go further off on a what next for Ferris. I think he's definitely that guy that's going to be. He's very smart, very driven. He's going to be that guy that always has a lot of luck with things. So I think he'd be fine going into the adult world. But then like I said, you got all the secondary characters. You got Cameron. Same thing. Next day at school, I'm kind of learning what he does, or actually the post, like those last 2 months in high school. Like he seems like he's a very emotional guy. Ferris and him are probably best buds since they were kids, and Ferris became this very popular guy, and Cameron is just right there because they're just that good of friends. So I think Cameron still just goes through those last 2 months trying to figure out, he's that depressed kid. Like, what am I going to do when I get out in the real world? He knows the real world is coming, and it scares him because he's like, do I go to college? Well, do I, take a year off, or what does he do with himself? Like, he's not sure on what to do with himself, and I think that really scares him. Whereas Ferris is excited to just be out of high school. I don't think he's thinking about essentially post high school. I'm sure he'll go to college, but he loves the fact that Ferris doesn't take life too serious when Cameron takes it very serious. But it sounds like Cameron's home life is a little funky. Like, I would have liked to see something where they show a little more interaction with the parents, especially Cameron's parents. Like, they're probably very, very strict, sturdy guys. Like, they probably just sit there at the dinner table all quiet and calm, eating their dinner. How was your day, Cameron? Fine. Type stuff like that. And then you got Jeannie, the sister. I think we didn't get too much into her character like we probably should have, but her screen time was very memorable. It'd be funny to see a little more interactions with her being Ferris's little sister and what that means for her, especially in high school. That her brother's this super popular guy, and she's probably kind of like a social outcast, but she does have an attitude. But other than that, like I said, you got, other minor characters from there. You got Ferris's parents, some teachers they show. Charlie Sheen does his one scene in there. So there's a lot of other characters that obviously I don't think this one needed a sequel at all. It would be nice just to see these guys back again, because you do want to see the Ferris character and what he's getting into. But this one is definitely one that didn't need a sequel, but because it's John Hughes, it was a good day. But we still have and there was a good ending, but we still had questions on, okay, so what really happens after this with these characters? But I think back just then, they just weren't thinking kind of post that. It was just like, we're focusing on this day, and that was the movie, which we love. But again, it just leaves us with some questions like, what happens with these characters when they go back to school? Or we never see Cameron interact with his family or his dad with crashing his Ferrari. The Ferrari was a big thing to him. Like, it gave him a panic attack, of epic proportions. So we never got to see the interaction between Cameron and his dad about, hey Dad, sorry I crashed your car. It's in the woods behind the house, but it fell off the garage and everything. So obviously I think he's going to know Ferris is involved. He knows Ferris is kind of the ringleader of Cameron. So I think just seeing all of that would have been cool. Because like I said, there was a couple interactions post this that should have happened, or that were going to happen, that we just didn't see. But as always, thanks for watching, guys. If you think of anything or know of anything else you would like to see post what would have happened next for Ferris and his crew there, let me know in the comments down below. And again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.